chamber to the people. Let the voices ring. Laws are made. Debates take the wing.
I know we are going to be reposed with responsibilities.
Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Watch the Senate and the House of Representatives, where decisions flow. The Parliament, the place to know. The Parliament, see power at play. The Parliament, your window into democracy at work, only on Global Television. Hello and welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament, which deliberates on legislative policies from the chambers of the National Assembly to the voices shaping Nigeria's democratic journey. Welcome once again. I am Anieti Patrick. Each week, we bring you the latest decisions, debates, and developments from the heart of the legislature, the bills shaping national policy, the motions addressing citizens' concerns, and the oversight actions holding governments accountable. On this episode, the Senate has urged the federal government to recruit about 100,000 personnel into the military to fight the rising killings and adoptions of people in the country. This followed a motion of public importance sponsored by Senator Yahaya Abdullahi, APC, Kebbi North.
Senator Yahaya Abdullahi expressed worry about the abduction of 25 students in the government girls' school in Maga, Kebbi State, killing the vice principal in the attack and injuring many. He called for adequate security to be provided in communities while urging the relevant security personnel to ensure the girls are rescued. Senator Yahaya Abdullahi urged his colleagues to support the motion.
Maybe by the time the Senate, in its wisdom, agrees with the second reading and it goes to the committee, I think it will be very, very important for us to consider putting the MOFI together with the Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Supporting the motion, former Senate President Ahmed Lawan emphasized that immediate steps must be taken to ensure the safe return of the abducted children. He also proposed that the Senate should find out the funds set aside during the Buhari administration to manage the Safe School program.
Then what would Global Business Coalition for Education was also in Nigeria to work with our leaders to ensure that we created safe education and learning environments in our schools.
Contributing to the prayers of the motion, Senator Adam Oshiomhole, APC, Edo North, urged the federal government to recruit at least 100,000 personnel into the military to assist to secure the entire country.
Be captured in our prayer that we want additional 100,000 men and women to be recruited and trained and equipped and well kitted in the Nigerian Army to be able to cover the increasing number of population and the fact that we now have more schools that we used to have in 1960, in 1970, in 1980.
In response to the debate, Senate President Godswill Akpabio condemned the attack and urged the federal government and security agencies to prioritize the apprehension of the criminals and ensure the safe rescue of the students.
That we do set up an ad hoc committee to look into the Safe School program funding and expenditure and whether or not it has achieved its purpose in view of this current incident of the kidnap of our school children and the killing of this vice principal.
The Senate observed a minute silence in honor of the late vice principal, late Brigadier General Uba, soldier killed by terrorists for the weekend, and other victims of the attack, while calling for greater involvement for state governors in securing schools, stressing that the need for a collective effort to address the growing insecurity in the country.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has raised fresh alarm over worsening insecurity in Zamfara State, following a series of deadly attacks by armed bandits across multiple communities. During plenary, lawmakers noted that the Constitution clearly places security and welfare of citizens as the primary responsibility of the government, but insisted that ongoing attacks show a dire situation requiring urgent action. In the last 2 weeks alone, heavily armed bandits reportedly invaded more than a dozen towns and villages in Zamfara, killing at least 10 people, adopting 130 others, and imposing an illegal tax of 100 million naira in already vulnerable communities. In a matter of urgent public importance, Representative Kabir Amadu notes that the attackers, who operate freely on motorcycles, are said to move from one community to another for weeks without resistance and have recorded multiple killings, with farmers targeted on their farmlands. Lawmakers warn that the violence has created a severe humanitarian crisis, leaving residents without food, health care, or security, and pushing entire communities further into poverty. Sponsor of the motion, Amadu, called on President Bola Tinubu to urgently adopt a new security strategy and direct massive operations by the military to end the killings.
The worry is that this demand for 100 million naira in taxes is not only unjust but also unattained for a population already suffering from the loss of life and properties.
However, an amendment proposed during debates by Yusuf Gadi advised that instead of relocating defense chiefs to Zamfara, they should simply be directed to launch extensive operations in affected areas.
The prayer should just request the Minister of Defense, all of them, including the service chiefs, to direct for a robust operation to take place within the affected areas in Zamfara State and other part of the country.
The House adopted the motion and mandated its committees on Defense, Army, Navy, Air Force, National Security and Legislative Compliance to ensure full implementation. Meanwhile, a bill for an act to establish Federal School of Nursing and Midwifery, Uturu, Abia State, and for related matters, HB 2006, by Amobi Oga, passed for second reading.
For a bill for an act to establish a Federal School of Nursing and Midwifery, Uturu, Abia State, and for related matter, HB 2006.
Also, a bill for an act to establish National Tomato Production, Processing and Research Institute, Shanono, Kano State, and for related matters, HB 2356, by Yusuf Badu, passed second reading. However, the House says it has done its part to resolve the prolonged pension crisis affecting retired police officers who have been protesting at the National Assembly complex. Chairmen of the House Committees on Police and Pensions are now urging retirees to remain calm as the legislative process nears its final stage. The House expressed concern that delayed payments, irregular stipends, and the loss of earned benefits have pushed many retired officers into severe hardship. A report recommending urgent interventions is expected within 4 weeks.
We cannot continue to demand loyalty, bravery, and sacrifice from our police officers while abandoning them at their time of retirement.
Because as it were now, a police officer who resigns after 30-35 years in service may as well be earning as low as 30,000-40,000 naira every month. Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me that this just cannot sustain anyone.
In another development, the House is probing an alleged unlawful operation by NDLEA officers in Ukpeju, Ihoha, Owan West, Edo State. House Leader Julius Ihovere moved the motion, revealing that a raid on October 27 led to the death of a 16-year-old boy and left several residents with gunshot injuries. He said such actions erode public trust and violate human rights.
Further disturbed that if the allegations of misconduct are not properly investigated, it could damage our international reputation in the fight against drug trafficking and human rights protection.
Plenary was later adjourned to next Tuesday following the death of Senator Oke Ezia of Enugu North. However, the House says it has done its part to resolve the prolonged pension crisis affecting retired police officers who have been protesting at the National Assembly complex. Chairmen of the House Committees on Police and Pensions are now urging retirees to remain calm as the legislative process nears its final stage. Chairman of the House Committees on Police Affairs and Pensions, Abubakar Yeleman and Hussaini Jallo, addressed journalists in Abuja, confirming that the Police Pension Amendments Bill has successfully passed all stages in the House of Representatives. The bill, which seeks to remove the Nigerian police force from the contributory pension scheme and establish an independent police pension board, was transmitted to the Senate for concurrence on October 28. Yeleman and Jallo stated that the protesting retirees are fully aware of the steps already taken by lawmakers and appeal for patience as the bill awaits action from the Senate before it can be forwarded to the President for assent.
But God willing, I'm assuring you by next week, this bill is going to go to the presidency for assenting. And we draw your attention, the media, help us engage those veteran police officers who are outside for almost decades of weeks here. So please talk to them, explain to them. We have passed their demand, and Senate too are ready to send it to President for assenting.
I believe my call for them to exercise more restraint and patience and go back to their houses, because inshallah very soon what needs to be done will be done so that the Senate will pass it and then it will be transmitted to Mr. President.
For now, the lawmakers insist they remain committed to securing a lasting solution, but the final move rests with the Senate. Let's take a breather here, and on the flip side, we'll look at more unfolding of legislative proceedings at plenary before its adjournments. Please stay with us. Welcome back. As the parliamentary week proceeds, tensions briefly fled at the House of Representatives as lawmakers clashed over when and how key issues surrounding Nigeria's electoral laws should be discussed. The exchange came during plenary, raising fresh concerns about legislative coordination and attendance. The usually calm plenary session took an unexpected turn when lawmaker from Anambra State, Peter Uzokwe, attempted to raise what he described as an urgent matter affecting Nigeria's electoral framework.
Sit down, Honorable Ifeanyi. Sit down, please.
It is so serious that it is damaging our reputation outside. And let me read it out.
Honorable Ifeanyi.
But before he could advance his points, Speaker Tajudeen Abbas interrupted, insisting that any discussions related to electoral reforms must wait until a special session scheduled for next week.
You shouldn't be talking with anger. This is a simple issue. You should be matured enough to know that this is a serious place.
Despite objections from some lawmakers who cited their constitutional right to raise matters of national concern, the Speaker maintained his position, stressing the need for order and adherence to the House procedural schedule. Shortly after order was restored, House Leader Professor Julius Ihunvere rose on a personal explanation, this time directing his concern internally. He cautioned committee chairmen against holding committee meetings while plenary is in session, a trend he warned undermines legislative process.
I thought it was important that in as much as we appreciate the commitment of our members, particularly those that are chairing statutory committees, to give us the maximum of their efforts.
Speaker Abbas supported the caution, expressing worry over the increasing number of lawmakers absent during morning sittings. More so, the House of Representatives has ordered an investigation into the establishment and governance of the Museum of West African Arts in Benin City, following concerns over foreign influence and opaque management of Nigeria's cultural assets. The resolution came during plenary, which also witnessed heated exchange over electoral laws and committees' sittings. The House of Representatives has considered an urgent motion moved by Iyawe Esosa and 5 co-sponsors, raising an alarm over what lawmakers describe as questionable ownership and governance structures behind the Museum of West African Arts in Edo State.
The House is cognizant that the Nigerian cultural heritage represents not only a priceless legacy, but also an instrument of national identity, diplomacy, and economic potential.
Lawmakers argued that the museum, originally conceived as the destination for repatriated Benin bronze and other artifacts, may be drifting away from Nigeria's sovereign control, despite heavy international funding and partnerships from global institutions.
If care is not taken, and we get this wrong, Nigeria as a country will be losing in area that have to do with non-oil.
The House expressed concern over donor agreements, land allocations, and what they called opacity surrounding funding sources and management structures. Members warned that without clarity, Nigeria's cultural heritage risks exploitation. Meanwhile, an ad hoc committee will now investigate the museum's legal status, donor involvement, financial implications, and measures to safeguard Nigeria's ownership of its artifacts. The committee is expected to report back in 4 weeks. The House of Representatives has taken steps towards strengthening Nigeria's emergency healthcare capacity and improving the country's maritime and fisheries sectors. Let's take a look. The House of Representatives has adopted a motion urging the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to fast-track all drilling activities in Obi local government area of Nasarawa State. The motion was sponsored by Abubakar Dahiru, who represents Lafia Obi Federal Constituency.
We are aware that the drilling the Obi oil is statutory duty of the Nigerian National Petroleum Limited, as provided in the Petroleum Industry Act, which allocates 30% of the funds for oil prospecting.
In another development, a bill seeking to amend the constitution to reduce the qualifying age for election into the Senate and governorship positions passed second reading. Sponsored by Esin, Etim, and 24 others, the amendment proposes lowering the age requirements for senators from 30 to 35 years and for governors from 30 to 40 years, part of effort to make Nigeria's political space more youth inclusive.
We maintain the gap between the office of the governor and senate, as it were, and that of the house at the 5 years that it has always been.
Meanwhile, at the committee level, the House Committee on Nutrition and Food Security continued its investigative hearing into alleged misuse of agricultural intervention funds by MDAs and programs operating outside the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Committee Chairman Dr. Chike Okafor stressed that nutrition and food security remain central to the administration's Renewed Hope agenda.
Nigeria's food security is non-negotiable. As a nation blessed with arable land, water, and human capital, hunger should not be our reality. Yet, inefficiencies, corruption, and mismanagement in agricultural programs threatens this vision.
The hearing was attended by representatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria and microfinance banks involved in implementing the Anchor Borrowers program. The House of Representatives has taken steps towards strengthening Nigeria's emergency healthcare capacity and improving the country's maritime and fisheries sectors. Let's take a look. At plenary, lawmakers adopted several motions aimed at tackling critical national challenges. One of the motions mandates the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Development across the country are adequately equipped to handle emergencies.
The House convenes that if hospitals in Nigeria are equipped with robust emergency response system, needless deaths will be avoided, while Nigerians who require emergency treatment will have renewed hope.
The House urged the Health to inaugurate an ad hoc committee to immediately comprehensive audit of all medical consultants and doctors in all our teaching hospitals, including National Hospital Abuja.
Meanwhile, the Committee on Oceans and Fisheries, chaired by Akarachi Amadi, driving technology sectors. The report emphasized research, training, and workforce development to enhance maritime productivity.
Act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Act Cap A12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2024 to establish the Brackish Water Fisheries Research Institute, Ungo, Rivers State, and for related matters, HB 2349.
In legislative business, a bill seeking to amend the NAFDAC Act to extend regulation to herbal drugs passed second reading. The bill, sponsored by Jesse Okejo Onukalusi, aims to improve safety and standardization in Nigeria's growing herbal medicine industry.
Nigerians take a lot of what we call local herbs, and this is medicinal and help in other countries. In the light of this, Mr. Speaker, this amendment will help us to define their role, to set up a regulatory committee that will be ensure that the award that is being used, the measures are stipulated in the Act, and the usage and the way it is procured, the hygienic places are defined.
The motions and bills now move to the relevant committees for further legislative action. Also at the Senate, the presidential nominee for co-chairmanship position on the Board of Unclaimed Funds Trust Fund, Obehi Okafor, has assured the Senate of productive investment of the fund if her appointment is confirmed.
An Unclaimed Funds Trust Fund is a government-managed fund, like the one established by Nigeria's Financial Act 2020, where unclaimed dividends and dormant account balances are transferred after a specified period of inactivity, example 6 years. The purpose is to make these funds available for government use, with the stipulation that the original owners can claim their money from the government later, although the process for claiming them can be unclear. While the government manages and potentially invests the funds are held in trust for the rightful owners until they are claimed.
My mission with the unclaimed funds is capital preservation. Aside from governance, I will optimize the returns of the unclaimed funds.
Explaining her mission for the fund, Mrs. Okafor said it shall be capital preservation driven by productive investment, all for expanding the physical landscape of the country.
We need to productively invest those funds. As they come to us, we maximize returns, but we also manage the risk prudently as we invest the funds.
Earlier before her presentation, the chairman of the committees, Senator Mohammed Sani Musa, Niger East, and Senator Adeto Kumbo Aberu, Lagos East, tasked her to justify her nomination by explaining her mission for the unclaimed fund.
The trust fund is just holding a trust for Nigerians. When you invest this money, that whatever is made out of it, the accruals will also be shared with the owners of the funds.
Report on the screening exercise shall be presented to the Senate by the Joint Committee on Tuesday next week for final consideration and appointment confirmation.
The House also is pushing towards a landmark legislation that could make Nigeria the first African country to pass a dedicated child online protection law. The proposed bill seeks to shield children from online predators, harmful content, and abuse in rapidly expanding digital space. Child Online Access Protection Bill 2024, proposed by Representative Olumide Oshoba, has passed major legislative stages and is heading for final consideration before transmission to the Senate. Oshoba says the goal is clear: protect children from online exploitation while holding service providers accountable. He also revealed that the bill's timeline was slowed by adjustments to align with the federal government's new tax laws, especially provisions requiring service providers to contribute to online safety efforts.
We have aligned the bill to go in conjunction and sync with the new tax policy of Nigeria.
According to him, the legislation proposes strict penalties, including fines up to 10 million naira for corporate offenders and 5 million naira or imprisonment for individuals who violate the law. A major innovation in the bill is the creation of an e-commissioner, a new watchdog department under the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. It will monitor harmful content, order takedowns, and sanction platforms that fail to comply. Oshogba explains that agencies such as NCC and NIDA will work with the new unit to ensure strong enforcement and safety oversight.
The NCC is a hands-on ministry agency, and NIDA, they are agencies that function optimally, and they're going to be involved in making sure the digital space, because I need to commend them. They're already doing a very, very good job, but we need someone that is actually concentrating on the online space and protecting our children from harm.
If passed, this would become Nigeria's first comprehensive framework to regulate children's exposure to the internet and a major milestone in the nation's digital safety architecture. And that's where we draw the curtain on this edition of the program. See you next week on the Parliament, on Global Television on Channel 365, on DSTV, and 276 on Star Times. To stay connected, kindly follow us across all our social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG. Thank you to my production team. Until I see you next time, I am Anieti Patrick. Have a lovely day.